As Vincent mentioned, this is a joint effort between CCRI and CCQM. Those of you not in the CIPM MRA universe, CCRI is the Consultative Committee on Ionizing Radiation, and CCQM is a consultative committee in the large in chemistry, quantity of matter. The purpose of this workshop, as you know from the web page, is basically an interactive discussion so that we can share ideas and try to find solutions to potential problems and known problems in order to facilitate the expanding use of mass spectrometry, a tool that is very typically used in chemistry labs, in order to support the metrological analysis of radioactive elements, which is the goal of the CCRI. Many different applications are impacted by the potential joining of these types of technologies. Nuclear power, including the environmental stewardship around nuclear reactors, decommissioning, forensics, nuclear forensics, medicine in nuclear medicine, and validating or determining critical nuclear data, which we use in ionizing radiation metrology that support that data supports most of our analytical methods, our metrological techniques, our counting methods. This workshop also gives us an opportunity to leverage the expertise both from the chemistry side of the shop in mass spectrometry, as well as the radionuclide metrology side of the shop in a common forum. This cross-consultative committee cooperation between the CCQM and the CCRI, specifically Section 2, which is on radionuclide metrology, started with a virtual meeting back in March of 2021. Now, to be fair, we first presented this idea of using mass spec in radionuclide metrology in a formal setting at the CCRI 2 section meeting in 2015. So we've been working on this for quite a while. But this virtual meeting back in 2021 was an opportunity for the radionuclide metrologists to meet and greet chemical metrologists. And I feel specifically that this is really something that's very important to me because I'm a radionuclide metrologist, but I'm also a chemist. So I feel like a commercial. We discussed the relevant measurement needs for both communities. We also discussed the related activities going on in CCQM, as well as the activities going on at the CCRI level. After this meeting, we decided that this joint effort between myself and I can't see everything on my screen, and Zoltan Mester from the NRC, who's from CCQM, would go forward and try to pull something useful together out of this potential collaboration. So how did we get here? Well, for a long time, mass spectrometry has been used in the analytical chemistry field to look at long-lived radioisotopes. This has been done in looking at environmental measurements, nuclear forensics, decay data, site decommissioning, etc. Also in reference materials, which will come up later in the workshop, reference materials not only for use by the stakeholder community, but also the development of reference materials that are needed to validate mass spectrometry of different types of applications. As I mentioned, single atom counting for radionuclide metrology using mass spec was presented in 2015 to the CCRI Section 2 meeting. And in fact, it is a key component of the CCRI strategy that you can find at the BIPM website. So far, what has been happening in the radionuclide metrology world, the NIST and the NPL and other laboratories have been expanding their facilities to be able to apply mass spec in radionuclide metrology. About a year ago, there was a CCRI webinar on the use of mass spec in radionuclide metrology, and there were 3 presentations. Those 3 folks, Richard Essex, Ben Russell, and Dirk Arnold, are all part of the steering committee for this workshop. You can still see the video of that webinar at the URL that's indicated here. We also did a survey of the members of CCRI2 and associated labs to determine how widespread the use of mass spec was in radionuclide metrology applications, and this is an ongoing effort. So the goals for our workshop are to exchange details of current and planned activities. That's mostly what's happening today and a little bit what will be happening on the last day. Assessing stakeholder needs, that is specifically on the 3rd day, including the relevant reference materials stakeholders are interested in and the relevant radionuclides. We're looking to identify measurement gaps and challenges, and we will try to determine some possible approaches to implementing mass spec to radionuclide metrology, including how to relate the results from the mass spectrometry and results from radionuclide metrology techniques. And we're also looking to see how we could go about defining the requirements for traceability to the SI. Now, most of you stakeholders may not care so much about traceability to the SI, but I can assure you your regulators at some point will. The final output, our goal is to have a summary in a white paper or other publication on the uses, needs, challenges, and advances of using mass spec in radionuclide metrology activities. I believe these presentations I know these presentations will all be recorded, so you can have this information at any point. My contact information and a nice picture of some of the natural matrix reference materials that we have at the National Institute of Standards and Technology here in the US. Most of them, if not all of them, have had at one point or another an analysis by mass spec, and we, the community, would be very interested in knowing what other reference materials could be developed using mass spec in conjunction with radionuclide counting methods to support applications for our stakeholder community.